Welcome back. Another episode of the Bridge Podcast. My boy Eddie Scipio is back in the building.
Cheer.
Another episode. I'm going to let him get off his freeways because, I know the 101, 110, the 10, the 4, 5 to 5. What's the ones back in Delaware, man?
Pennsylvania.
I'm sorry. I'm tripping.
22, 78, 33, 611.
For sure.
215, 610, 484.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of
95.
them. Keep it going.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I was about to say, if you got some more, we can do it, man. But, like I said, the 5, the 10, the 101. Hell, some of them little small ones, the 22. I think I was just on I think it's the 40 going to Fresno. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them, man. But, we going to do what we do, man. So y'all let that beat ride. No face, half beat on the beat. On the beat. I'm over here fumbling today. One of them days, I guess. But we're going to have another great episode, man. It's going to be dope. Glad y'all here. I'm over here giving free promo, drinking on camera. Not alcohol, just an energy drink. Just for those listening, not watching. Energy drink, free promo. Not doing it no more. Last time. But it's all good. All right, welcome back. Another episode of the Bridge Podcast. Like I said, Eddie Scipio was in the building. He's just not a visitor. He's a part of this thing. You know what I mean? He rocking with me. We keep doing episodes. And like I said, we're building off of the mental health thing. First, I do want to say Happy New Year to everybody. First episode of the new year.
Yes.
I think this is episode 17, but that don't even matter anymore. But I think today, building off the mental health conversation, I think we want to talk about like vulnerability as men. And I always say, I feel like vulnerability is a part of mental health, just for the fact that like it's just as hard to be vulnerable as it is to talk about mental health.
Right.
Especially as men, especially as black men. Like we are so challenged to maneuver a space, I think that most people don't really understand, right? Just as a black man, like it was a post that I heard the other day. A guy was like, man, like when you're a black man, you have to learn how to maneuver as a black man around different spaces. Sometimes our own people, right? Mm-hmm. White people, Hispanic, whoever, like we have to adjust to the environment because a lot of times people have a preconceived notion of who we are.
Yep.
And then it doesn't matter what we actually are to them. Like they just go based off of what they see,
yep.
And so I always say like, there's always layers to it. I think as men in general, there's vulnerability for all of us just because that's not a part of our DNA. We were talking about the last episode, like there was never a space for us carved out to just say anything about anything, right? We just was like riding with it, So, you have your own thoughts. What does your kind of feel about like vulnerability in the space anyway?
Like growing up, we always were taught to be tough. And I think being tough is something where you really didn't talk about a lot of things. Right. So when something happens and you want to talk about it, it's like, I can't talk about that. Yeah. Like I gotta be tough about it. Like I can't. I can't be complaining to this person or complaining to that person, or letting this out. And I just think that is our nature,
right?
And like how we grew up. I mean, that's what I think about it. I think like being vulnerable is like if I'm telling you that I'm struggling, I'm a punk,
right?
And then you might go like, man, this dude, he talking about he can't do this.
He's
soft like that. And then the next thing you know, it gets back to the next person, and it gets back to me. It's like, man, I thought I could trust you. Right. Now I can't talk about it to you, or I can't talk about it to the next person because now they think I'm soft, and this person thinks I'm soft, and I'm just expressing my feelings. So I just think like we always go back to like our environment.
Right.
I mean, how we grew up. Like
it's everything. I think like you're saying, man, it's. You get so much pushback, right, in the spaces that you're looking for support,
right,
where it just discourages it, right? But also, I think it's vulnerability is so much associated with women that I think that's a tough pill for men to swallow, right? I think we've evolved to the point where it's becoming acceptable. I don't know if we're ready to really step into it completely. I think the kids that we are seeing coming up are definitely just in that space of just being vulnerable. I think emotionally, like these kids are all over the place, which is not uncommon for kids to kind of be emotionally wrecked because they don't know how to maneuver it. But I think it's just more expressive now, not necessarily in a violent way, but just in a just kind of wild way. I guess I'm saying in a way that you would associate with a woman as a child, right? Like the way we would see it as a child was like women act like that. Or like even playing sports, right? Like, man, y'all acting like girls.
Yep.
Right? For having feelings and emotions or just showing any kind of emotion. Like, I'd be damned if you cry.
Right.
Right? Because it's like the moments you break down, people looking at you, man, like, what?
Yeah, like you soft.
Right. Like it could be the last game of your career and you crying like, yo, what are you crying for? Like, dog, like it's over. Right? You know what I mean? Like it's over. But I think just not having that space kind of pushed us into a space, right? And so I always say the lack of vulnerability in our space always fed the aggressiveness that we all have, right? So I think, like, speaking from myself, my mental health, my vulnerability always manifested itself in anger because of lack of, like, knowing how to articulate and express, like, how I felt.
I think that's what goes on with me, too. Like, when I'm vulnerable, I tend to slash out.
Right.
So.
Yeah, tear up some shit.
Yeah.
That's just the reality. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the reality. I think, like, we can't fool ourselves. I think as I got older, I suppressed more, and it just built it more.
Yep.
Right? So, I wasn't known as a violent kid. I was known as an angry one, right? Like, I had my tempers, I had my moments, but it was kind of, like, normal in the group. Right. And I think so nobody kind of looked at it in a way that was negative. It's just like, man, he be all right? Without even really addressing, like, what happened. Yeah. It's just like, he gonna have his moment, he gonna be angry, then he gonna reel it back in, and then we gonna go back to being normal.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of us just kind of had that and saw that, but it's like we just never saw it. We never were taught to do it. And it's hard because I hate to say like it's a parenting problem, but it kind of is.
Yeah,
right.
It definitely is.
But it's not a parenting problem from the standpoint of like you did this intentionally.
Right.
You just were going off of like what you saw, what you know. Like we're products of the environments we're built in.
Yeah.
And so I think like not knowing how to break that just perpetuated it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's how, like right now, how I'm raising my daughter. Like it's okay to cry.
Right.
It's okay to come to me and tell me that there's something going on. Because I wasn't able to do that when I was growing up. But I want her to express her feelings.
Yeah,
I'm never like, oh, be tough. Because I got that a lot when I was growing up. You got to be tough. Like, no, it's all right. Mama, you're okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay to get frustrated. I know you're not getting it right now, but you're definitely going to get it. You get frustrated and you get mad.
Right.
That's okay, but you're not quitting.
Right. Absolutely not.
You know what I mean? But you're going to continue to go at it. So, like, I think that's one thing that I'm trying to install into my daughter now is that it's okay to be vulnerable. Right? But at the same time, we're going to fix the situation.
Right. And I think the problem currently, like for myself even, right? I always say like sometimes the best way to teach is through myself as an example because of showing you like no matter how long I sit in front of a microphone, no matter how many times I speak in front of a group of kids about mental health, like I'm still suffering from the same stuff.
Yep.
Right? Like I'm not absolved from anything that I'm talking about. I think most people will kind of try to put you in a box because they're struggling and say, well, you think you're better. It's like, no, I don't. I actually think I'm just like you.
Right.
And if you kind of would get out to that space you're in and defense mechanism you're trying to put up, you probably get something positive out of what I'm trying to tell you.
Right.
But I think, like I said, you just get into tough spots. And I think it's not necessarily that we can't be vulnerable. I think a lot of times we just choose the wrong people to be vulnerable to.
Yeah.
You know
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the thing. We make poor choices in who we want to actually express to.
Yeah.
And so I think the blessing is understanding, like, I could be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right? But maybe I just chose the wrong person. But I don't think we see it that way. We just like, nah, it didn't work. I tried that. I'm cool. You know what I mean? And then we go back to the lockbox.
Just talking about real life situation, and my girl just cheated on me, right? And I posted some stuff, and I was vulnerable.
Right.
I got a lot of good replies back from that, which was surprising. You know what I mean? And that kind of made me feel good, and I got a lot of text messages and stuff like that. Just people just validating how good of a person I am and stuff like that. Don't ever think it's you. And that kind of really made me feel good. Yeah. Right? Like, and it made me like, all right, man, it's time to move on.
Right. Because I think you'll see that struggle. Yeah. Right. But like also like the growth.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm in it. Like I said, I still in therapy. I want Tuesday, go today. My 6th session.
Okay.
All right. So I mean, things are going better. Yeah. And I told my therapist like, you could be tough on me. Like I know you know my past and you want to be gentle, but
Yeah, be real.
I'm the type of person that I need someone still being tough, and she's like, course. No, I get that now that you're telling me it, which is a good thing. But yeah, I mean, it ain't easy. Nah. But at the same time, sometimes you have to be vulnerable.
No, you do, man.
Yeah,
you really do. I think it's like you said, that's the challenge, especially because it's like and this is, I think, the part where women lack a little bit of patience.
Yeah.
And it's because like the patience that you're asking for, you need to show it sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? Especially when it comes to us, because it's like, as I think women will get discouraged if they're not being heard, but I think they still have the ability to like keep saying what's on their mind. Like they'll keep making effort.
Right.
But it's just like ultimately when they check out, like they just check out. Like it's over, right? Yeah. Where I think with us it's like one shot, one kill, man. Like, you know, like you get this one shot to listen, and typically if you don't, I just become the version that you just don't like.
Yep.
I don't have any incentive to change or grow with you. Right? You know, sometimes it's for you, but like typically I can't grow with you anymore because it's like you don't really care like what I'm invested in or what's going on with me.
Right.
And so typically like we shut it down. But I think like those are the hard parts for trying to get a woman to understand that. Mm-hmm. Like, listen, I've actually given you the opportunity to learn something about me that most people don't know.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's not being a man already puts you in this place where you lack a little bit of understanding. So now if you're not listening, like you'll never get it.
Yep.
Which ultimately I tell people like that just probably means you ain't it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So, but like also, I don't walk away. Initially, I think you always walk away frustrated, whether it be cheating, whether it just didn't work out, whatever. Whether like they may have chose. Like I think in my first marriage, I actually wanted to leave first.
Yeah.
But when I like kind of sat back and thought about it, I was like, this is not what I want. I didn't get married for this.
Yeah.
I want to work this thing out. And then we tried for a while. Then she made a choice.
Yeah.
And then I had to kind of like, hey, man, I can't force her to like stay in it with me. It takes two people to make this thing go. And we just did it. And then we kind of like went back and forth. And then just finally it was over.
Right.
You know? But initially, yeah, like I said, like men hurt bad.
Yeah, you're right about that. We hurt.
But like you said, it's because I actually gave you something real. Like I gave you a side of me that I'm not going to show people.
Yeah.
And so it still doesn't mean like the woman was wrong for leaving. You know, I'm not saying that. Like I said, since you cheated, you just ain't shit for that. Yeah. Just period. Like I don't have no respect for that. Period. You know, like if it's just not working and you left for whatever reason you chose, that's your reason.
Exactly.
But like doesn't mean I'm not hurt, and it doesn't mean you're not hurt either.
Right.
Maybe you just understand better than I did that it needed to end. But I went from being like angry to like, there was a lot of good things I learned with her. You know, there was a lot of growth that happened with her. Yes, there was some bad times. It was way more good than bad for us. But it just got to the point where I think we grew in different directions and we just couldn't make it work. Right. Like, we just weren't mature enough as a unit. Yeah. You know, because I think people always want to wrap it into like, well, I was mature, she wasn't. Yeah, but at the same time, like it takes both of y'all to be in a space to make it. And if y'all both not there, it is what it is. Right. And so that left, but I walked away with so much. And so I always tell my wife now, I'm like, you know, the goal was to level up. I believe I did. And honestly, I believe she feels that way too about her new marriage with her husband. But you should. Right. Not because I'm bad or she's bad. It's just for the fact of like, we've grown into something new and we found somebody that fits what we're growing into. Yeah. And so if we're both doing that, everybody wins. And like you said, we have kids. Yeah. So, you know, it's getting them to understand and like showing my son and my daughter, like, man, like only thing that sucks is you two. Yeah. Because of like what we put you through. It was our fault that we couldn't figure it out and you guys suffered probably the most. Yeah. But, you know, I always try to keep it a buck with them about what it was. Yeah. You know, and so like however they felt, like, man, you could feel that. You know, like if you mad at me, I'm gonna accept that. Yeah. Because me and your mom are responsible. Yeah. I'll be more responsible. I really don't care. Like, you know, like I said, me, and that's the old school man in me. Like, man, I'll take responsibility for it.
Yeah, I can hold the
burden.
Like
I can hold this. Yeah. I can move forward. Yeah. But like you said, like it was, initially there was no conversation like this that I'm having with you, right? Yeah. And so like it was a moment of like, I was in tears. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I'm sitting there. I ended up had to move back to Cali without them because I couldn't get like good employment or nothing like that. But I remember coming back to Cali and I'm sleeping on my brother's couch, you know? Yeah. And so, you kind of like, damn, where the fuck it go wrong at?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You try to you try to make sense of something that honestly you're not emotionally and mentally ready to make sense of it.
Right.
But you don't know how to just be, right? And so I'm sure you can attest to this. Like idle time is like your worst enemy when you're struggling.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you think about everything.
Man,
your mind just goes.
Yes, and you could create stuff that ain't even real.
Right. Yeah.
When you're in that emotional space.
Yep.
Where I think a lot of people don't understand that. It's like, man, my mind's spinning on stuff that's not even happening. I'm getting angry about stuff of like could be's.
Yep.
Or could have beens, and it's like it's not real. But like I said, I learned in that space of like it wasn't about me not being open. I couldn't go back to a version of myself that was damaging because I just I got out of something that didn't work.
Yeah. But
if I want to have something good, like I just have to be more in tune with who I open up to.
Right.
But like also but I think in the space of being vulnerable, it's like balancing the space, right? Like I can't just pour my heart into you on the go.
Right.
If I first meet you,
yeah.
Like we're on a date and it's like, hey, this is wrong. I got this, that. It's like, I think it's a time and a place, but it's like you have to kind of earn that right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To get like all of that.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you'll get to know me, but as we grow closer,
yeah.
I'll give
you a little bit, start opening up to you.
Right, but I'll never feel bad, and I think that's what I would encourage you is like, I wouldn't feel bad about none of it. I'd be hurt.
Yeah, I'm hurt.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, I'd be hurt, of course, but it's like I'm not gonna feel bad about it when everything I did came from a good place.
Yep.
But I think the hard part is like you were vulnerable.
Yeah,
you're probably vulnerable because like therapy started. All that started in the process with this young lady.
Yeah,
right? And so when you look at all that, like I'd be pissed.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like straight up, I'd be fucking angry.
Right.
Because it's like, man, I really was trying to step into this new space, but like you got me into the new space.
Yeah.
So if you ain't do nothing else for me, you got me into the space where I really need to be. That opens the door for like, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I honestly, I think in the long run I'm gonna benefit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like you said, she did get me in a new space, did help me get into therapy, and I honestly, it's besides what going on between me and her, it's helping me in life, and that's the number one thing.
Right.
I got to be a better person each and every day, and a better father for my daughter, and I think my therapy sessions are helping. You know what I mean? And just making me a better person every day. I wake up a little bit positive, doing things that I normally don't do with my daughter, and talking not as angry with her and stuff like that. So I think it is making me the sessions better. Right. And that was the goal in the long run, right? I knew I needed to get fixed. Yeah. And it just took to this point where it started me to go to therapy, and now I'm on that path where I have an outlet when I have someone where I can be, like we're talking about vulnerability, vulnerable to, like, and she's helping me get through the bad times and just some good times, and she is a great therapist. If something's going wrong, I could call her. Can I come in? Well, I got free time here. You can come in, which is she's open. Yeah, which is nice. I mean,
no, that's key. Yeah. I mean, I think that's where I think sometimes in that space, like I've had moments where, like when my brother passed, I didn't really want to give up too much to my parents. Yeah. Just because it's like I lost my brother, but they lost their sons. Yeah. So would they want to know? Yeah, I'm sure they would. Yeah. But it's like trying to tell them in that moment was just it was a lot. But like also, me not saying anything was also killing me. Right. At the same time, right? And so that's kind of what got me into that space of finding like I have to open up. Yeah. I can't sit here with all this on me anymore because it's literally like it's gonna kill me.
I went through that stage when my dad passed in 2012. I moved out here to California with Claudia's family, 2013, and I drank for a year straight. And I'm not a big time drinker like that. Right. And I had to tell my brother, I'm going back home. Right. Like this is not for me. And I know I'm not a drinker. I need to go back, get my stuff together. I moved back home 2014, so I was there for like 2 years. But I knew once I did move back home and got my stuff together, focused on myself, and that was probably the time where I probably should have went and saw a therapist, but I didn't. I knew coming back to California was the right place, but I knew I couldn't be drinking and stuff like that. So when I moved back in 2016, I got into working in a school district with special ed kids, coaching over there. I was in a good space. I wasn't drinking every day. I mean, I drink socially, but it wasn't. I was drinking every day when I first went out the first time. So it was socially, but it wasn't like every day.
Right.
And now I haven't turned back. I've been out here 8 years. I mean, I've got a beautiful daughter, beautiful family with Claudia and the Terroneses and the Nunezes, and I met you when I came out here. So
a lot of James, we got dogs, man.
And so I call you guys like my brothers.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean, so, but yeah, when someone passes, man, like that, it's not easy.
It's deep. It's deep, and
I still feel it to this day.
Yeah.
And people say it get easy, it don't get easy, because now my daughter, she's a tattoo on my arm. Like, I wish Pop was here. And
right.
I just turn sometimes and cry. Dad, you okay? And like, man, I wish he was here too, Mama, because he'll love you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so holidays and stuff like that, birthdays. It's tough. Yeah, it's tough. And people say it gets easier. It don't get easy.
Nah, it don't, man.
You just kind of try to learn to live with it the best of your ability. But, yeah, man, so.
It's work. Like, it's really work. And I think when I was a addictions counselor, you deal with people who are recovering from, I'm dealing with, like, Oxycontins, like, all kind of heavy stuff, man. Like, heroin. Like, I'm dealing with people who are doing some heavy, heavy stuff, but in the process of recovery, loss happens to them.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe they lost a sibling, maybe they lost a parent, and it wasn't till I was maneuvering that space, and my boss was like, yo, you got to understand, like, it's not, you don't go a couple months and then you're cool.
Right.
She's like, what about their birthdays?
Yeah.
Not just theirs, but, like, yours, your kids. Right? Their kids if they had them, right? What about Christmas, Thanksgiving? Like, all these days are moments you have to go through to even really get through the healing process, right? And understanding, like, it's an ongoing thing. Like you said, it won't be a day where I don't think about or not remember the pain I suffered when my brother passed away.
Right.
Like, it's tough, but it's also, like I said, it was something that was almost inspiring in the sense of, like, man, if I had to find something in myself, right, to, like, really build better for myself, of, like, how do you want to live?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you lost him a tough way. He ended up taking his own life. And I'm like, man, you've been in a space where that's crossed your mind.
Yeah.
Right? That's crossed your mind. And he was tough.
Yeah.
Like, he was strong to me. And not because he's not here, he wasn't strong, but, like, he couldn't cope anymore.
Yeah.
And so he made a difficult choice, right? And so, like, just knowing everything, and then my dad being the one who found him, and then me really, like, when you hear the story, it's so vivid, you felt like you were there.
Yeah.
And so, like, even though I didn't see him, my dad did, but him telling me, I could see it.
Right.
And I can never not unsee what he told me, And so that's just always with me. But like I said, at the same time, like, it pushed me into a point of, like, man, I got to figure some stuff out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really got to figure some stuff out right now, because it's a lot I need to do for myself. It's a lot I need to do for my loved ones.
Yeah.
But like you said, I wasn't being vulnerable to the people who really needed me to. My wife's just kind of looking at me like, what's going on here? You know, like, even talking to her later on, she was just like, I didn't know. She's like, I didn't feel like we weren't going to be together.
Yeah.
I just didn't know, like, if it was going to get better, like, or when. I just couldn't see, like, when does this change? Because you were just so closed off.
Right.
Because that was, our defense mechanism. Yeah. Right? Like, let me just not say nothing.
And probably he's your best friend growing up.
Oh, man, we shared a room our whole life, bro.
It's like me and my brother. My brother's my role model, man. Yeah. No matter what type of stuff he gets into, I looked up to my brother.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just imagine just losing him. Like, we don't talk often, but I know I could call him, like, Tech, I need you to come out here. He on the first flight out here, you know what I mean? So just imagine you losing your brother. Like, we shared a room together. We played football. Like, he got me into all that. Basketball.
The fights.
Yeah.
The disagreements.
Yeah.
Just because we too close.
Yep.
Like, you just in my space. You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure, man. It was crazy.
And I bet that was just tough for you. Like, it probably still is tough for you. You know what I mean? Because it's the healing process, knowing that he's not there. You can't call him.
Nah. And like you said, to your point, like there's moments where he's asked about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so, or even my son Miles, who just like, you didn't really get that experience.
Yeah.
And so he was more like my dad in the sense of like, my dad's quiet,
Yeah.
but his personality, you notice it when he comes in the room.
Right.
And you know, Terrence was just like, he was just reserved. He was to himself, but it's like, to know him was to love him at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like if you knew him, dude had a smile that'll light up a room. It's just like he just felt his presence. Like he'd pop up on you because he was so quiet. You just like, man, what are you doing? You know what I mean? But like when he was there, it was just great, man. He just was always good. So, you know, like I said, it was just those experiences that I got. You know, like you said, when you got experience with a family member that you love, just all those great memories, and you're like, man, y'all don't get to have that like I did.
Yeah.
You know, his kids don't get to see that. They just get to hear the stories now, right? And like I said, that is the hard part. It's like you've been denied something, right? That I was able to have, and I can't manufacture that. Like I said, God made him, and he was the only one he made like that. I can never be him. I will never try to be. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I just try to add on to what he had, and just show you much as I can of him through me.
Yeah. Right.
So you know, I told myself like. I remember standing over his casket the day before the service, and you know, we had to go view the body. Me and my dad went and made sure he was dressed properly and all that. And I remember last thing I said was like, "Man, this won't be for nothing."
Yeah.
Like I just stood over there. I was like, "This ain't gonna be for nothing," you know. And I had cried my tears at that point, so I was able to kind of be there. You know, my mom, that was her first time really seeing him. My oldest brother came, but like I was at that place of like, man, that was the last thing I said, but I was like, that was kind of what pushed me where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Of like, nah, man, it can't be. You know, so, you know, it was my mission to like, man, I got to save myself.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I got to save myself, and I can't be the old version of me to do that. Right? And so, like, you know, like we always say in sports, right? Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that is always the thing. And I really had to become uncomfortable. I really had to have some difficult conversations. You know, I really had to explain some things to my wife that were like she didn't really know or understand, or like it, and once I told her, it made a lot of things make sense. Like I remember I was doing a letter for my PTSD for the military, and I didn't have it in me to tell her.
Yeah.
So I just let her read the letter. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I'm like, this is so much not who I am. I'm so much a person like, man, let's just talk about it. Like, man, I'll talk about anything, but like I could not bring myself to just sit with her.
Right.
And so I just let her read it. For the first time in my life, I let her do something that I hate people to do to me. Because, like, she'll write stuff down. Yeah. And I'm like, man, just tell me. You know?
That's how I am.
And so I did it, which was funny. But, you know, she was like, man, like, I could explain a lot of things that I had been going through. But, like, literally, like we said earlier, her reaction to it was what kept the door open.
Yeah.
Because she didn't go, you know, she didn't scoff at it. She didn't make light of it. She understood the seriousness of it.
Right.
And like, man, I want my husband to be okay. You know? So it's like, don't get me wrong. We all have moments where we're frustrated. It's like, we get selfish. Right?
Yeah.
Don't worry about me. I don't care about that, you know? But it's like when we really step back from our stuff, it's a lot of love there. I'm like, man, I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
You know? And so, like I said, even when there's times I'm like, I don't want to talk because I'm upset, or she's pushing me to the point where she's upset and we just can't figure it out. We're butting heads. It's like, I still, in my heart, I go, man, you know, and there's going to be a time when we can have the conversation. It just ain't right now.
Right.
You know, but like you said, the older version would be like, oh, man, like that. And then 2 or 3 months later, we back beefing again. Yep. You know, so it's like, those are the things that are always tough for us, man. I think that's what I said. And I think that's the importance of it now. I think, you know, you're done coaching. I'm still coaching. I don't know how much longer, but
right.
You know, even if I'm not coaching, I'm still helping kids.
That's the same here.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we don't get out that space.
Right.
Like that's just a part of who we are. I think once you open that door, if you really coach, you never stop coaching.
Yeah.
You might not coach a sport,
right.
but you still life coaching or involved in, like, you know, it was a guy, Gary Vaynerchuk, he always says, like, man, when I see a kid crying, I hate when people say, like, stop crying.
Yeah.
He's like, man, I'll be the first person to go tell the kid, I'm glad you care.
Yep.
And like when I heard that, I'm like, damn, that make a lot of sense.
It definitely does.
I've been that person.
Yeah.
To be like, stop crying.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was told. Like, what you crying for?
Yep.
Right? And so, like you said with my son, I'm like, man, it's a reason to cry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's certain things to cry. Now, do I still feel like there's certain things you shouldn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, I've learned, and like, I'm not mad at you for expressing how you express.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's some growth in my part. It's like, man, you got to let people go through it how they go through it.
Yeah.
Just how they back.
Yep.
You know, because ultimately you'll create the same thing you don't want, which is a person who don't want to talk.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like if they got to cry to get it out, hey, man, get that get that off, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah, it was like Elise. She was playing with the girls at the basketball game. Mm-hmm. And when the girls came back, and I thought she said Elise pushed her, so I went to go get her. Mm-hmm. You need to apologize. I'm like, and she's telling me, like, what happened? She's like, I didn't push her. Some girl pushed me and I pushed her back. And I was like, oh, daddy's wrong. I'm sorry.
Right.
And she was crying. She's like, I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't know. But I do. If someone pushes you right, you do have to push them back. You got to wipe your tears if you want to go back and play.
Absolutely.
All right, so she went back and played. But and I was like, you out there pushing people for no reason?
Right,
and she was like, nah, the girl pushed me and you always told me to push her back. I said, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry. Daddy was wrong. I'll apologize, Mama. You're okay.
Protect yourself.
Yeah.
Protect yourself, for sure. So. No, it is, and like you said, that's growth on your part. It's growth for her. Like I said, it keeps the lines of communication open. Yeah. And I think, you know, that dynamic with dads and daughters is like, it's everything, right? And so I think, like you said, when you're really in that vulnerability space, it's like, you know, my son, your daughter, they probably watching us more than they listening to us. Yeah. Right? Like, they're really paying attention. They really seeing how we handle stuff. Yeah. And so it's like the moment we don't do it the right way and we don't really address it with them, like, they just think like that's how you do it. You know? And so I think for a lot of us, I think that's just what was happening. And like I said, I my parents were phenomenal. You know, I have all my friends were like, yo, like, you know, we love Mr. and Mrs. Davis. Yeah. You know, everybody wanted to come to the crib because they knew my parents were going to take good care of us. And like, we also understood, like, we didn't have money, right? But I had two parents in the house, still married, you know, 50 years of marriage. So, you know, a lot of my friends was running to that part of like, nah, we getting parented. We get to have fun over here. Like, they going to feed us if we hungry, whatever. It didn't matter if we didn't have a lot, but it was like, nah, y'all not going to leave here. Like, we got something, y'all ain't got nothing. Yeah. Like, we not going to leave you here on empty. You know, we give you what we got. And so we would always help out everybody. And so people just ran to that. And so it took me a minute to, like, really appreciate that part of it. Right. You know, and so, like, through my friends not having, I understood what I had. Yeah. Right, you know, and so I always say, yeah, I'm spoiled because I have my mom and my dad.
A lot of people don't.
Nah, it's a travesty, to this day, right? Yeah. And so, like you said, when you have a daughter, and like I said, her mother, y'all are able to co-parent, which is great, right? You know, but like I said, even in that, I think there's times where I have to be vulnerable enough to be real with my daughter. I got to be real with my mother and my child about stuff, right? Because we're gonna butt at times, right? We've been raised two different ways, and we're trying to find the best way to raise this child. Yeah. You know, and so it's not going to always line up perfectly, but I think when we both have what's best in the child at heart, like, we'll find a way to go together in the same direction and make the adjustments, because I think it's about, like, what they need, not really what
we need.
Right? Yeah. So it's like, there's so many ways to like handle discipline or whatever with a kid. Like, you know, we was going to get whooped. Yep. Like, we was gonna get whooped. Like, it wasn't no way around it. No way around it. Now, when it came to my sister, my dad was gonna never put his hands on her because he always felt like, I don't want nobody to ever feel like it's okay to hit you. Yeah. Right. Even me as your father, I would never put my hands on you. So don't even enter that into the space. But my mama get at her. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, no, we got somebody for you. Don't think you about to. But like, when it came to us, but like, even with my sons now, I think I was blessed to where it just never took that. Yeah. I think, you know, they got some swats on the butt or stuff like that. It's not like they ain't never got, like, whooped, but not like to the level.
We got whooped.
Yeah, like, I feel like we was getting, I felt like some of that pain and aggression they had was in them beatings sometimes. Yeah, you know what I mean? Definitely was. Or, like, I always tell people, when my mom would say, like, hey, wait till your dad get home. You be like, damn. Like, yo, you can't just do it.
This is me in school. You want me to call your mom or your dad? Call my mom. Mom don't answer the phone. Oh, my God. My dad come pick me up. I'm like, man.
You know it's about to be a bad day.
Yeah, I know.
Like, dog, like, just handle it.
Yeah.
Just like I was telling my homie that the other day, I'm like, yo, if it's between calling the cops and my parents, call the cops. Call the police. Like, and then when they take me in, I'll stay here until you release me. You don't got to call nobody to pick me up. I'll stay to 24 hours.
Right.
Like, do not call that
my
man.
Parent. Yeah.
Right? Because if my mom answering the phone. My dad ain't with that. You know, he old school. He ain't answering that phone. He, man, whatever. You know, but my mom going to answer it. And she got to tell him.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bad day, you know. And so I always say, man, like, you know, I didn't have to do what they did for me, for my kids, man. My kids I found other ways, right? Like alternative methods. I think now with kids, it's like their devices is everything. Yeah. Right? Like,
I'm glad at least it's not on those devices.
That's the lifeline, man. It's like for most kids, it's that, you know. And so, like a lot of times you can take away devices now and it does that to kids. Yeah. But like you said, that only works if they are kids that are actually in tune with that. Yeah. Right? So I think it's just knowing your child and know what makes them tick. You'll know how to deal with them when things come up. Right. And so I always say, like, I'm tougher. I think dad's always perceived as tougher. But I think it's just more about, like, I'm about what I'm about. Yeah. Like, no, I have a way we going to do it. And I'm going to hold you to that standard. Yeah. Where, yes, there's room for grace in there. There's room for mercy in there always because we all need it. But it's like, nah, the job is still the job, though. Yep. You can say whatever you need to say. You can talk to me about whatever you need to talk about. But we still going to handle business, you know. At least
knows that.
Yeah.
She knows I start to count. And she ain't never get a whooping. I don't know why.
She knows.
But she knows, like.
She's sharp.
Soon I start counting, one, okay. She'll straighten up.
Yeah, all day.
Yeah, so it's funny, but yeah, she never got a whooping yet, but.
Nah, I don't think she will, though. Yeah. Because, like I said, it's like, I think, and I always felt like this when it came to whether it's my daughters, Sierra, Dylan, my niece I raised, Naya. Yeah. It was like my voice was enough. Yeah. And it wasn't and I don't mean in the sense I had to yell, but it was like when the tone changed. Yeah. And they knew, like, all right, he ain't playing no more. Yep. They just knew to, like, knock it off. You know?
My dad was that way. As soon as what'd you say?
Right.
You right?
Huh? Huh? No, okay. Yeah. You know, and so I think that was but like I said, with Miles specifically, just because he's the youngest, like with him, it's like, man, I just need to be honest. Yeah. Right? And I think a lot of us, we weren't honest because we always feared the consequences, but it was like not understanding. Consequences are different when you're honest. Yeah. Like, yes, there still may be some, but I'm not as upset when you just told me the real. Right. Right? You know, and I think our parents always promoted that growing up. They always want us to be truth tellers. And you know, for the most part, like all my family, we just gonna say what it is. Yep. I think if we don't, it just, maybe we just want to deal with the extra stuff. So it's like, you know, we've learned to let people be who they are. Yeah. So like being real doesn't always mean I gotta say something. It just means, you know what, I've accepted you for who you are, and if that's who you want to be, I just don't have to engage it, you know? And so I think that kind of, it made things a lot easier to, like, maneuver through, ultimately. Right. And just keeping myself in a good space, right? Because it's like, I don't want to get frustrated and angry with people if I don't have to. Yeah. Am I going to? Yes. And I want to be able to say it. But, you know, I think when you know who people are, it's like, man, it ain't going to matter if I tell you or not, you gonna do what you do. So I just need to not
engage in
right. And so it's like I said, in that point, it ain't about being vulnerable, it's about being smart. Yep. And the smart side of me says, man, let you go your way. Yep. You know, I just know, like, I have people who I love where I'm like, nah, if I could tell you some stuff, but you just gonna argue till you right. Yep. And so if that's just how you feel, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, if you don't want to receive it, it's cool. But, like, I think also, like, that's a hard part, I think, for a lot of people is just receiving, right? Because I think receiving is a part of being vulnerable. So it's like, I can see myself away, but you can look at me differently. And it doesn't make either one of us right or wrong. This is just how our perception of the situation is. Yeah. But I still got to be able to, like, take it. Right? So you, like, I could feel like I'm treating you great, but you could be like, nah, bro. I feel the type of way. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I gotta own it. And if I love you like I do, I gotta adjust. Yeah. Right? But like I said, if I'm not vulnerable, that ain't happening. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think it's an accountability piece to the vulnerability. Right? Like accepting, like, this is how it's like your relationships, right? Like, I might think I'm doing everything right. I might feel like I'm the man. Yeah. And you like, nah. I don't like XYZ.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you'd be like, dang, I thought you were liking when I was in there.
Right.
I just didn't say anything.
Right.
Like, man.
And it sucks.
Yeah.
It does. It sucks. It's disappointing. Because I always say, like, do you not want it to work?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're doing a great job if you don't want it to work. Because I think a lot of us, we get frustrated. Like I said, I think this is more of a man thing. Of like, we get frustrated and we just hold it all close to the chest. Mm-hmm. But then we're expecting the woman to be different without even addressing why we was pissed off.
Yeah.
Right? Now, like I said, some of it can be rooted in the fact that like maybe you didn't listen before. But it's like, man, if I really want to give this a real chance, I can't not speak on things that are bothering me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can't. There's no way in hell we're gonna have something good if I ain't saying what's real.
From the air, if we're not communicating back and forth.
Right.
And I think communication is definitely the big part. And then sometimes when you start to communicate and you start to open up and being vulnerable, and then you get hurt, then it's like, dang, if you break up with that girl, then do I communicate and open up to the next person?
Right.
So then it's like.
And you have to though.
You definitely have to, but it's still in the back of your mind. Like I just communicated and opened up in my last relationship, and I got burnt. Right. So why do I want to do it this time? But like you said earlier, like you just have to probably take it slower.
Yeah.
It can't just be on the first, second, third date, or even.
Yeah, it'd be different.
Yeah. So you got to go about how you do it, or what and when you want them to know certain things about you.
And I think if you, it's like people always say, like when you hear people go, when did you knew she was the one? Yeah, when I met her. Yeah. Right. And I think that's true because I think me and my wife when we got together, I felt it right away. Like I think this could be something just off of our first real like the time we spent together. It just felt good. Yeah. You know, it felt like it was so unique. Where like I ain't never felt like this. Yeah. And so I kind of knew, but I was aware enough to like take your time. Yeah. Let the process be the process. Like, man, just continue to fill it out. Because like I said, sometimes we perceive things wrong. Yeah. I'm not 100% from the field. I can make a mistake. I could read it wrong too. Right. Thankfully, I was right. But it was like we were patient. But I think more importantly, we were just honest.
I think I read it wrong. I think I was too quick because it did, like you said. Mm-hmm. When did you feel like she was the right one, the first date? You know what I mean? And then I think we just moved way too quick. Yeah. Instead of just being patient. I mean, probably because we both really haven't been in a relationship in a while. Right. I mean, her getting off of divorce, me just being committed to my daughter. Right. Like I haven't been in a real commitment. And I think we just both shot in it too fast. Right. And I got hurt in the long run. Right. I mean, but there were still signs where people were telling me, but sometimes you gotta figure it out for yourself. Yeah. I try to hear that. Things is right. So, I try to hear that. But everyone was. I think next time, sometimes you just need to listen.
You do. I think you take it in, right? And it's like I still have to see it, but I just have to be open to. I think when you're open to saying, man, maybe I could be wrong, I think you see things clearer, right? I think if you're just only stuck on your point of view, you're always going to miss the mark, right? Because there's a broader picture. It's like I said, it's like coaching. No good head coach is sitting on the bench by themselves. Right. No good coach is standing on the sideline by themselves. Because without different opinions or perspectives, I'm going to mess it up at some point. Yeah. Because I can't see it all by myself. Yeah. Right? So I would say, like, it's the same thing. Like I said, when I was in my first marriage, I remember I'm in Okinawa, Japan. My mom called me out the blue, random. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm half asleep. What's up, Mom? I just want to call you. This is on my heart. My mom's very, spiritual. Yeah. And she said, man, I'm praying about it. Just something's not sitting right about me, with me about her. Yeah. I just don't know what it is. She's like, I don't have nothing. She hasn't done anything wrong. It's just very transparent. She did nothing wrong, but just something not sitting right with me. Yeah. It's kind of like I said, I blew it off, and like I said, we ended up getting married. We just ran off and got married. We eloped, basically. Yeah. A couple of homies was there, and that was it. But it was partly because of that conversation. It was like I felt like they kind of didn't approve. Yeah. So we just kind of ran off and did it. But I remember after it was over, my neighbor came over, And she said the same thing. She's just like, I just didn't have the heart to tell you.
Yeah.
Because she's known me since I was a young boy. And she's like, some just didn't feel right, you
Yeah.
know? And it was like, I couldn't see it at the time because I was just blinded by what was going on.
Yeah.
Now, don't regret none of it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't be where I'm at today without all that stuff.
It's happening.
And I'm sure she could say the same thing, you know what I mean? Because like I said, I was nowhere the perfect husband. I was nowhere I didn't do everything right. I just didn't. I made plenty of mistakes. Like I said, I cannot shoulder her with all the blame or myself. Like we both carried some weight of some BS.
Yeah.
We both did some things that weren't right to each other. And it's just what it is, you know? So it's like, I never looked back on it with regret. I think initially I looked at it as a waste of time.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm like, we've been married all this time and I was just over. Like, I just wasted time. Like, like, but it was like, nah, man, it was a part of your journey.
Yep.
You know? And so, but it's funny because like the same thing you went through before I got to getting remarried, I was talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And like I had known her since we forever, but we never dated or nothing. We just kind of was always around. And then we just kind of started talking. She had a daughter, you know, so we were just kind of like slow walking it. You know what I mean? And I was like, man, I just told her one day, I was like, man, you know, I always got a lot of love for you.
Yeah.
But she took that like different than I said it.
Yeah.
For her, it was like, I love you.
Yeah.
And so it scared her though.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it just kind of ended awkward. Like, it just literally ended. It was just over, like, kind of like lightweight ghosted me, you know? And so I was like, man, I didn't get it. But, like I said, at that time, I'm like, bro, I already been through divorce, man. I ain't even gonna waste the energy for that.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, we ended up doubling back later. We had a conversation. But it was like, nah, it was all, like, I'm not feeling the way I think you think I'm feeling.
Yeah.
You know? Because I've just been through stuff now. I've kind of learned to, like, hey, you just wasn't it.
Yeah.
You know? And, like, getting to that point of, I'm okay if it don't work out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really am. It doesn't discourage me on relationships. And nothing I went through after my divorce discouraged me. I just like, man, you know what? Maybe we just weren't the right fit for each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But the incentive was, like you said, I have children.
Right.
And, you know, if they want to be married, and I want them to see what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
You know? And the blessing for us is, like, I have a good home here. Mm-hmm. Their mother has a good home where she's at, you know, so whether they was with me or with their mother, I knew they was getting love. Right. You know, like I remember taking a picture with her husband at my son's high school graduation. Yeah. I'm like, nah, bro, you just as much a part of this journey, man. Like, I'm not sitting with him. We talking, right? But like, you sitting next to him, like you going in buildings, talking to teachers and principals when things ain't right, whatever. Like, you're doing all that, and he's a great student. Like, dog, you know, I got a daughter who's autistic. You was amazing with her. Like, I can't never look at you jacked up. Like, as a man, now, like I said, the younger me, I couldn't tell you that. I couldn't be vulnerable enough to tell you that because my ego, if I was still hurt, you know, what I mean? I wouldn't be able to tell you that. But it's like, nah, bro, from the first time I met that man, I was like, thank you for what you do, man. I appreciate it. Because getting remarried and my wife having kids, like, I was in that same boat of, like, I got to learn these new kids. But I love my wife enough to do that. And my wife loved me enough to, like, learn my children. Yeah. And so it just made for a great environment for everybody. So it's like, we was all sitting together. We was all kicking it together because it's like, it ain't none of that energy there. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like you said, the stuff I needed to get off my chest, I got it off. Yeah. And I think had I not, none of that. You know, none of that happens.
You ain't sitting next to him, you taking pictures, none of that. Yeah. Right. You already know, I feel that. Like I said, me and Elise, mom, we have a great relationship. And like I said, what she does on her side, she dates. Right. What I do, we date. We don't ever put that into our business, right? Or taking care of our little princess. So I think that's what's been so good with us lately since we separated, which is the main thing. Keep the main thing, and the main thing is Elise. Right. So.
No, that was dope. Yeah. Like, I remember Halloween, she pulled up. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, we don't interact a lot. You know what I mean? I know you know me, but like the fact that she was like, nah, she wanted to come by. Yeah. So I love that. You know what I mean? But it's like she's tapped into who you're tapped into. Yeah. Even if it's for a small thing. It's just like, nah, if it's important to her, she want to go over there and trick or treat, we'll do that. You know what I mean? Because I was definitely not expecting to see her that day, but I was happy. You know, she always give me big hugs and stuff, man. But it's like, that's what it takes. I think it's like you have to put those other things aside. Right? Yeah. But like also being to the point where, like you said, if I don't like something, can I tell you? Yeah. So maybe, like I said, I really don't want her to do this, or I don't like the way this is going. Or it's like even with me and my wife in sports, we just have a different approach to Miles.
Yeah.
But like and then neither one of them are wrong. It's
Right.
just like this is why. We're giving you explanation. Where I think the younger version would be like, man, just stop doing that.
Yeah.
Not even explaining to you the background or the understanding of my logic. It's like, nah, I don't want to get into all that. Just I need you to stop.
Yeah.
But like now it's like, nah, I could just tell you stuff. And like I'm in that space with her where even if I'm not talking, I can say why.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, so maybe it's a moment where she's just frustrated. I'm like, well, you're not listening, so what's the point? Or, she'll tell you my famous quote is, do you want to talk or you want to argue? You can't do both.
Yeah.
Right? Because arguing just has us back here in a month or two.
Right.
Talking actually gets us what we want. And so I think one thing I learned in therapy was like, you can table a conversation as long as you still have it. Right? So maybe me and you bumping heads. And you like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, man, I can't. Not right now, Eddie.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this ain't the time. But, like, we going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But, like, give me the time. And I think for me, with my parents, with my wife, like anybody that I was involved with that needed to know stuff, I was like, I can't close off. But, like, at least let me get to the space where I've processed it, where I can, like, come back and actually, like, tell you. Because I don't want to get mad in the middle of the conversation, right?
Right.
So it's like a breakup. If I'm still hurt and I'm trying to talk to you, it's going to go left.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm hurt.
Yep.
I'm angry. I'm upset at you. And I damn near probably don't even want to hear shit you said for real. I'm just trying to get mine off. Right? And so neither one of us are understanding. Ain't neither one of us really listening.
Yeah.
We just talking. You know what I'm saying? We just talking right now. Like nothing's good's coming out of this. It's just headaches for both of us in the end.
Right.
I walk away drained. So do you. And now we're just like, And so it gets to the point where it's like, I can't even deal with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, for me, I never wanted to be in that space with people after I got divorced. Like, I don't want to feel like I can't deal with you. Like, even if I didn't have kids with my ex-wife, I wouldn't want to feel like I couldn't deal with her if I seen her down the road.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about, like, I think where we mess it up is people think we got to sit down and fix us. No, we're not together no more.
Yeah.
We don't got to sit down and fix nothing.
You're right.
I got to go fix what's wrong about me. Right? And then the improvements I'm making and the deficiencies I still have is only vulnerable for the next person I deal with who needs to know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's like, I don't got to double back and tell you nothing about that. Like, that's over with. I've accepted that and I moved on from it with work. I moved on from it. But now when I step into new things, I'm not living in our old marriage because I've dealt with it.
Right.
Right? So now I can go into a new thing with a little more health, better knowing myself, still figuring it out. But like I was always appreciative, as I got older. And I always tell people, like, don't be mad at your exes. Thank them. Yeah. Because they teaching you some stuff that you ain't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the better you understand the lessons, you won't have to repeat them.
Yep.
And it's hard. And like I said, that's why I'm like, once I saw what you posted, I'm like, man, the only thing I ever wanted to tell you was like, just don't stop going to therapy. Yeah. That was the only thing I would have ever said to you. Because when you get into that space, it's like if somebody tell you to do something and then they break your heart, you damn near want to cut off all ties with them. So you detach from everything that they've even taught you or helped you with a lot of times. Right. So it's like, because it's like damn near like a reminder. Like, damn, well, she told me to go. Yeah. And I'm going to therapy. So it's like that.
Nah, I called the next day.
That's beautiful, though.
Can I come in? And she was like, yeah, I got an opening for you, 2 or 3. I said 2. Yeah. I'll be in there.
That's beautiful, though, because it's like, it's important. It's like, and I think that's a growth spot for you of understanding, like, no, I still need this. Yeah. I needed it anyway. Yep. And so that's always the understanding of like, you actually understood when you went to therapy, like we talked about it before, like I needed to go to therapy. Yeah. So even though this ain't work out, I understood already. Right. Right. Like I already had the knowledge of like, I got to be here.
I got to be here. And
I got to be here.
I think once that first one happened, it doesn't matter what goes on in my life. Right. I think I'm going to be connected to therapy. Yeah. Right. And I think that's what I needed. I just needed that first one. I needed to know how to go about it. Mm-hmm. I knew I needed to hit rock bottom to tell my sister, like, you need to help me find a therapist. Right. And once she found me one, I made that first appointment. Second appointment, I'm like, this is something that is going to be part of my life from here on out. And so, once I found out she was cheating, and the next day I called, like, can I come in? She was like, yeah, sure. Right. you call me. You could have called me that night.
Right.
I would have answered the phone. I'm like, dang, okay. I'm glad I could
Yeah.
hit you whenever I need you. So.
No, it's important.
Yeah.
It's and like I said, the trick is to find somebody who you could really open up. I think that's the challenge for the therapist. Is like, I really got to get to know you.
Yeah.
Right, in order to be able to help you, but also understanding my help ain't for everybody.
Yeah.
So I think both sides have to get that. So like I said, it's no different than a relationship. I have to be vulnerable in this space, understanding this might not be long term the best therapist for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I need something different later on down the road. Right. So like, I think I was going to counseling in the VA clinic in SLO. You know, it's a free service to veterans. Take advantage. So I went there initially because it was like, man, I had nowhere else to go at the time, and it was free. I knew I can get in there.
Yeah.
And I came in under duress, so it was easy to they're like, we see you now, and I think I probably cried for like an hour of that.
Yeah.
You know, and I just need to be here right now. I just couldn't leave. You know, I was like, I'm not ready to go back to life at this moment. I just need to kind of sit here and process, and they let me. But the guy I was working with, he was great, but then doing some more testing and stuff, this lady was like, you have PTSD on top of anxiety, but like, you need cognitive behavioral therapy. And I was like, what? And she was like, trust me. You know what I mean? Like, and so she hooked me up with another therapist, and like, from that dude was on the money. You know, now, like I said, my problem was always, I'll be doing good on therapy, and then my schedule will adjust, and then I'll start slipping. Yeah. Right? And like I said, then I'd always make the mistake of like, damn, I need to go back. Or I let myself get into a funk. Yeah. Right? But the blessing of the guy I'm with, I always felt, it's like being a little kid, knowing you messed up, having to go face your parents. You get your head down. Yep. It's like to get it back on that phone and be like, hey, I need to schedule a session. And then I remember when I talked to him last time, I was like, man, I apologize, man. I'm trying to get better at that. Yeah. You know, just staying in here. I know I need it. I need consistent. He said, well, at least you called and not me calling you. Yeah. And like that, like, changed everything for me. So it's like, now I don't never think that way no more. Right. Where like, he was the only person to ever say that. But I'm like, man, I used to always feel bad. Like, and I don't like missing. Just the schedule sometimes makes it hard to line up the way I want. Right. But it's like, man, you just gotta, it's like, man, you still have a responsibility to rearrange things with what you got going on. You just gotta figure out the space. Yeah. Right. But just don't stop. So I always tell people, it's nothing I'll never quit. I just want to be more consistent across the board, like throughout the whole year. Yeah. So it's like, I'm not gonna go a year without going. Right. But I'll have stretches where it's like, I couldn't make the last couple. Yeah. Now I'm trying to rework it. Oh, we got to go here for this, do this for that. And traveling a lot with the sports I'm doing. Yeah. I'm not home, but it's like, nah, man, you got your computer. Yeah. He do Zooms. Okay. Don't make no excuses. Right. And that's the thing. It's like, you have to talk yourself out of the BS sometimes. Yeah, because y'all do travel a lot. Yeah. No, we go from. Well, they were in the Philippines, but then they went to Florida, went to Tennessee, get ready to go to Massachusetts. So it's like, you're moving around a lot, and I mean, honestly, you're just tired. Right. More than anything. You're like, man, let me lay down for a minute. But, like I said, like with my exercise, I don't slack it. Mm-hmm. I worked hard to get to a point. So it's like, nah, man, your therapy is a part of the exercise. Yeah. It's the mental exercise. So it's like, in order for your body to stay right, your mind got to stay sharp. Yeah. Or it's going to go a different way at some point, because like me, I was an emotional eater. So, like, when I was under duress, I would just be eating, snacking and grubbing. And, like you said, we talking about earlier about idle time. Right. Like, man.
Yeah, wifey's always cooking, too.
Man. But the thing is, too, it's like, it's crazy. Most people do it, right? Whether you are overweight or not, you eat the most when you're just sitting in the house all day. Yep. Right?
Not doing nothing.
It seems like you find your way back in that damn kitchen. Yep. Or you watching the series and you done watch 2-3 episodes. Man, let me go in here and grab some chips real quick, right? Yep. And then you come back. So, I did that, but like I said, it was like learning that about myself. Of like, man, you don't need that. Yeah. Like, you're not even hungry. You just eat because it's there. Yeah. Yeah. But it was like getting to that and then changing a lot of habits. But like, it was the expression that kind of helped to change, because especially when you live with somebody, right? Like, you're married, you have kids. She don't know what's going on if I don't tell her. Right. Right? So it's like, this is what I'm doing. So it's like, when I started calorie deficit, I was like, yo, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. So now, like, everything you bring in here, I'm looking at the calories on it. Yeah. Right? So, like, like last night, she like, oh, I made French fries. I'm like, where's the bag at? So I can scan the barcode. And she like, she's like, when she's like, oh, or she bought some. We just like a light night, like we made like hot dogs one time, like last night, and I'm like, how many calories in that? She's like, it's 170. I'm like, damn, like just for one?
Yeah.
And she like, yeah. She's like, I didn't even think about like that, but
yeah,
she's aware. But it was saying like, I say that to say like, man, the people in your space can help you with things,
right?
When you're open and say what's going on. It's like, okay, I know how to maneuver. So it's like, it's no different than like. It's like, I've known you long enough to know, it's like, man, if you mad, I might ask you if you're all right, but I'm not pressing you. Because I might know he's just not ready. You know what I mean? Like, he pissed, you know what I mean? But, like, give him a minute.
Yeah.
Or it's like, I can see you react a way where you're upset and you might lash out verbally or say something out of frustration. But it's like, I'm not going to deal with you in that moment.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a minute because I know we're going to have a conversation we need to have. Right. Now, I have enough equity with you. I can probably pull you out of the moment like, Eddie, come on, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean? 100%. Right? And vice versa. Yeah. It's like, you can do that with me. Or like James. It's like, hey, man. Like, where it's like, I could be going in and James would be the one in my ear. Like, hey, man, look, that probably wasn't it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I called him. I called him and talked to James because, like I said, he's like, I didn't want to, like you said, I didn't want to press you. I said, you big bro, you could call me whenever you want. I probably needed to hear you more than to hear anybody else.
Right.
He's like, and he gave me some words of encouragement and stuff like that, which is good. But like it's always good to hear from you guys, or you have, snap out of it, bro. Like,
right.
Yeah, so.
But it's like I have to, like I said, I gotta validate it.
Yeah.
Right. Like as a friend, somebody care about you. I can't just be like, man, look, because I think that's where we mess up. It's like, so my homie Joe, he live in Orange County. So when I first moved back out to get divorced, he going through divorce at the same time I am.
Yeah.
Right, where I got people that's being real with me. Like, but I also was real myself to say, man, I'm not good right now.
Yeah.
Right? So in his mind, he not even acknowledging he hurt.
Right.
He just like, I'm out here in these streets. So we go into the bar, right? Like we go into the bar, we kicking it.
Yeah.
And like he doing whatever. I'm out there with him, you know what I mean? Like we hanging out. So maybe I'm at the bar having a beer, watching the game.
Yeah.
And he doing saying we might shoot some pool, but then like it's gonna pop off at some point. Girls gonna start coming in. And he trying to get on something. So he like, what we doing? I'm like, man, I'm going to the house.
Yeah.
And like, well, I'm about to go do this. All right, cool. Hey, I'm going to drop you off. Yeah, just drop me off at the crib. Or, if he was in my car, I'll take him to his crib to get his whip. And then he'd do what he's doing. And then we'll link up. And it was funny because after, like, we was running church for like 2 years. And that's still my dog. But you can see the difference where he's like, damn, this dude... He done got remarried now. He good. And, he's on that track, but it was like he just went through a lot of stuff later because he didn't take that time.
Right.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and like I said, that's the dude. Like I said, man, he started understanding. I think watching me was kind of like an open the door of like, man, all right, maybe there's something to what's going on here.
Yeah.
And dude, and he'd figure something out. But it's like I said, I was never mad at him because like I can't tell you how to process.
Yeah.
I just know dealing with some girl right now gonna complicate some stuff for me.
Yep.
And it's like, I told him, man, like, I put time in with my wife.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I need time to really bounce back and recover. But, like, like you said, even if I didn't, for men, like, if I open up to you, it takes a minute for us because we do it so rarely.
Right.
I can't just bounce back into something new after that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, nah, I gave you something. And honestly, the like you said, the conversation ain't really about you. The conversation is like, don't close off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, don't shut down right now. Right? Like, it's step back, reevaluate. Like you said, talk to the people I need to talk to as I'm dealing with it. But, like, don't change the good things that are happening because of the frustration, of a moment.
Yep. 100%. And I think that's the process I'm probably going through right now. Like, I can't change the person I am.
Right.
I got to continue to move forward.
Right.
To be the loving, caring father, you know what I mean, and friend, you know what I mean, that people still call on when they need, you know what I mean. So it's just a process that I just need to step back and know that I need to take it slower next time when I get into a relationship.
For sure. No, you will, and like I said, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Right.
Like it really is gonna happen. I just always say, me and my wife found each other when we weren't looking for each other.
Yeah.
Right? And it was so organic. That's why I always say, like, my brother who passed, the last thing he did for me was he brought my wife back into my life. Because I known her since we was kids.
Yeah.
And then we were gone for like 20 years. She moved to Chicago. I didn't see her no more. But I just started getting on social media because I wasn't a social media guy at first.
Yeah.
He like, man, you remember Janice? I'm like, yeah. He like, man, she on here. She was asking about you.
Yeah.
I said, oh, well, yeah, give my information. So he did. And then when we talked, we never stopped talking. So that's how people don't know. Like, we got married on February 12th because that was the day she reached out to me.
Okay.
So that's why we got to that date. It was like, nah, this is when it all started. This was the first DM. Yeah. It was like, hey, what's up? This is Eliot, and then it just started from there. And so, it was significant. But like I said, it was so many things that had to happen first. Yeah. That I, like, in the moment, they just sucked. You know what I mean? Like, it just being honest, like, it does not feel good. Definitely. It was a lot of days where I just didn't feel great. Right. Right? I was just like, this ain't it. And it was a roller coaster ride of, like, emotion. Some days I'm up, some days I'm like, I had to move. Some days I was still pissed. I can't believe this. Yeah. I can't believe she did me like that. You know what I mean? Like, how could she? But at that time, I really wasn't evaluating, like, me. I was evaluating how she hurt me. Right. I wasn't evaluating, like, what I could actually impact and change, which was, like, myself. Yeah. Like, what can I do differently? And so it was like I said, there was nothing wrong with marriage. Yeah. It was just that I didn't have somebody who was compatible and willing, because compatibility doesn't necessarily mean like you're perfect for me. Right. It just means like we match. We have some stuff we need to work on. We're just willing to. Yeah. Right. And so it's like, for me, it's like, I'm not going to tap out on you. And that's the conversation with me and my wife. Like, I'm not going to quit on you. You know what I mean? You might piss me off, but like, understanding, because I love you, that's the only reason you can upset me. I actually love you and care about you. Right. Like, I don't offer that up to anybody. Right, it's the only people who really hurt me are people who I actually care about. Right. So it's like, no, I'm invested in you because you can get under my skin. Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, like, she knows that about me, but it's like, nah. We always say like, nah, ain't nothing gonna move me from you. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, everybody has their thing. Like, don't cheat on me. Yeah. I'm not gonna cheat on you, but like anything else, we feel like we'll figure it out. You know. So, and we've had moments like of transition where it's like, man, I don't understand it. You know, but like I would say in my other relationships, I'd be like, man, fuck it. You know what I mean? Where with her, I don't think like, well, if it don't work out, I don't process it that way because I feel like, man, we'll figure it out. I'm just like, I'm just mad right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's just me being real with myself. But like you said, also having people I can talk to. Yeah. And so like I always say, therapy is great. Like my mom, who I don't like to tell her stuff because I don't like to involve her like that. Like we might talk about some things, small things, but like I was explaining to her, like I can tell her stuff because she gonna tell me the truth. Yeah. She gonna tell me if I'm messing up. Right. And sometimes I need to know.
Yeah, my boy Marcus is like that.
You gotta know.
Yeah, he'll tell me. I have to call him because I know I need the truth. Right. And sometimes the truth be hurting. I mean, like, dag, dog, shut up. Like, I call you. He's like, that's why you called me. I was like, I know I called you for that, but man, you didn't have to tell me like that. Right. And he's like, that's the only way I know how to tell you. That's the only way you know how to get it. So,
period. Yeah. Period. Like we just won't, because it's like, I think we sometimes we try so hard to be tactful and try to like shape it up in a way that we think the person can accept it. Yeah. Where they just never really get it because like we too busy sugarcoating. And it's like sometimes you gotta take the Band-Aid off, man. And so I remember one of my military homies, my big homie Corey. I'm like talking about losing weight, and basically like, man, you know why you can't lose weight? I'm like, why? He's like, because you're not disciplined. That's why. Yeah. And I'm like, man, what you know? But in the moment, you just called me out, so I just felt the way. Yeah. But when I broke it down and thought about it, like he was 100% right. Yeah. Like I didn't have no control over what I was eating. I wasn't consistent with my diet, my exercise, nothing. Like I had a whole bunch of crappy habits that I wasn't unlearning. Right. I was doing the same thing, and then at best I would exercise, but I would keep all my bad habits as far as like eating. Yeah. And so I wasn't seeing it. And then when I actually like lost it, I'm like told people I was just disciplined. Yeah. Like I just stuck to the plan. Like, and that's the hardest part sometimes. It's like, just stick to the damn plan. You know what I mean? Like, stick to the plan. So, like I say, let's say when I'm being vulnerable, I got to stick to the script. Yeah. Right? And so, if I'm really with you, and I'm going to be with you, whether you're my friend, whether you're my wife, whatever, like, I got to stick to the script. I just have to kind of be open about, like, how I feel about whatever it is. Right? So, like, maybe, like I said, I'm being vulnerable with you. I had to be open enough to say, I felt like he was rejecting me, or I felt like he wasn't listening to me. Yeah. And that makes me not want to talk. Right? You know what I mean? Instead of just not talking, now my adjustment was, like, if you want me to talk, like, do you want me to be the version that doesn't want to talk? And that's not, like, just to my wife. That's to anybody. It's like, if you want me the version that just cold to you, then don't listen, right? And don't listen. I mean, listening doesn't mean do what I say. It just means hear me out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, at least take the time to process and take in what I'm telling you. So maybe you get some understanding about how or why I did whatever would happen, right? Because I think we don't do that. We just jump out the window with stuff. And it's like, oh, you know, I ain't listening to it. It's like, nah, did you hear what they told you, though?
Yeah.
Right? And like you said, a lot of times it's because we lack the accountability part of, like, hurt. Like, my wife would never want to hurt me.
Yeah.
So if I tell her I was hurt by something she said to me, it's like, what do you mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, no, I know your intentions weren't that.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that hurt, though. I don't like the way that made me feel.
Yeah.
Right? And so, you know, once you get over the initial, like, I wasn't trying to do that, like, I didn't say you were trying to do that, it's like we can kind of figure it out. Like, okay, I understand why you said that.
Yeah.
Right? And so, because I think so much time we spend thinking people are like us, and it's like not accepting that they're not. Right? It's like, I can't expect you to be nobody but Eddie.
Right.
Right? It's like, I can't tell you to do something like I would do it because that's unique to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so it's not fair to me or you to put that on you. Like, well, this is how I do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, nah, man. You know, it's like, I got to find a way. It's like coaching, right? Like, I'm trying to get you to do this.
Right.
And I can't. Now, I have to kind of figure you out.
Yeah.
To find the way.
To get you
where I need you to go. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, like, when you're vulnerable to the right person, that's what happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, he don't like this or she don't like that. So what's the adjustment to help them in this time,
right,
and not get them to, like, shut down? You know, because ultimately the shutdown is like, I haven't met a man who shut down and opened back up to that same person.
Yeah.
I haven't. And like I said, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not saying there's not guys around me. I don't knowingly know anybody that's actually, like, shut down and stay with that person, you know. So, you got any closing words, Eddie, man? We're going to wrap this up.
The camera went.
Oh, it's all good. We ain't worried about that.
Nah, I'm just, sometimes, I think just being vulnerable, like, you have to sometimes.
Right.
I mean, to open up, to grow.
Right.
I mean, I think a lot of times, like, the more and more we're not vulnerable, we're not opening up, we're just hurting ourselves in the long run, to be honest. I mean, we definitely have to open up. No matter what situation it is, maybe not 100% fully,
right?
But being vulnerable is I feel like is something that's gonna help you grow in life. I mean, because keeping it in and bottling it up is just only gonna hurt you in the long run. Right. Because the more and more you keep it in, you already know how it is. It just explodes.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be bad. So, I mean, it's not easy.
No,
definitely not easy, but just finding that happy medium to let it go.
No, I think that's the thing, man. You just have to find that, like you said, that balance for you with the people you're dealing with.
Yeah.
I think it's not just about being vulnerable. And it's not, and like I said, we're not saying just tell everybody everything, right? Because everybody doesn't deserve every bit of you. But, like, you do know what you need to know.
Yeah.
Right? And so I always say, like, it's not everybody knows what I actually did with mental health wise, but if you're in a space with me where you need to know, like, you will know, right? You know, but at that point, I don't care how you feel about it. It's what it is.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna make the necessary adjustments to deal with whatever I got to deal with in a space, and I think that's just kind of where I think most people should be at. It's like, man, tell people what they need to know.
Yeah.
As you grow with people, as they build connection with you and they deserve more, give them more. You know what I mean? If it fits them. But even if it doesn't work, like, just don't change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I said, just stick to the script, man. So, thank y'all for tuning in, man. Another great episode. We're going to holler at y'all soon next week. Y'all have a great day.
Cheers.